To register my 1-year-old daughter's household record, I returned to City A after 3 long years away. While my wife was handling the paperwork inside, I felt suffocated, so I carried my little girl and walked toward the exit. As I pushed the door open, I almost collided with a woman. "I'm sorry," I muttered, brushing past her, but a trembling voice called out behind me. "Benjamin, is that you?" I turned around. 3 years apart, and Helen looked completely unchanged. Still elegant, still distant, like an untouchable white lotus. But the moment her eyes fell on the baby in my arms, her composed mask shattered. "You're your child?" Her voice shook with sheer disbelief. I gave a calm nod. Helen clutched her chest, slowly bending over as if physically struck. I didn't move an inch, watching her with a blank expression. Before she could speak, the doors opened. My wife, Francesca, walked out with a bright, gentle smile. "Honey, it's all done. Let's go home." Seeing her warmth, I smiled. But the peace was instantly sliced open by Helen's sharp exclamation. "Francesca, why is it you?" My wife's smile faded. She looked at Helen calmly, giving a cold, slight nod. Francesca smoothly looped her arm through mine and whispered, "Honey, let's go." We walked away in the opposite direction. No goodbyes, no turning back. Even from a distance, I could feel Helen's burning gaze drilling into my back, standing frozen under the lights like a ghost. After a 3-hour drive, we returned to our peaceful suburban home. My wife tucked our daughter into bed, threw on her apron, and busied herself in the kitchen. Watching her, my chest filled with absolute warmth. Later that night, we lounged on reclining chairs in the yard under the grapevine trellis. Looking at Francesca's gentle profile, the restlessness stirred up by Helen completely dissolved. "Honey," I broke the silence. "Don't you have anything you want to ask me?" Francesca narrowed her eyes slightly, a beautiful smile playing on her lips. She shook her head. "If you want to tell me, I'll listen. If you don't, I won't ask." That was the essence of my wife. She never forced me. But I decided it was time to make everything clear. I took a deep breath and began to recount the past 6-year relationship I had buried deep in my heart. Helen and I were high school classmates, invisible to each other for 2 years. But during our final year, she suddenly stormed into my world, pursuing me with reckless passion. As the untouchable school beauty, her moves drew everyone's eyes. She would show up early to clean my desk and leave breakfast. I rejected her repeatedly, but she blindly ignored my boundaries. She purposely sacrificed over 60 points on her college entrance exam just to apply to the same university as me. On the first day of college, she stood beside me in a radiant white dress, smirking. "Benjamin, this time, you can't run away." I finally allowed myself to believe her. The turning point came during a sophomore basketball game. I twisted my ankle badly. Helen panicked so hard that tears streamed down her face, and she practically dragged my 6-foot frame to the infirmary herself. After weeks of her delivering every meal to my dorm, we officially entered a relationship. But once I was fully caught in her net, things shifted. Whenever I asked why she had chosen me, she'd just give a playful smirk and say, "Take a guess." Slowly, her tenderness evaporated. She became controlling, cold, and dominant, treating our conversations like orders. When graduation arrived, our first real battle erupted over the future. Helen's family owned a well-off trade company in City A. Her father immediately arranged a position for her and demanded I join as well. But my degree was in computer science. I didn't want to spend 4 years studying just to become a useless freeloader relying on her family's wealth. I firmly said no, my very first time defying her. Helen was furious, calling me unreasonable. In the end, I broke my back working at a major internet firm while she joined her family business. We moved into an apartment together. Feeling guilty, I took on every single piece of household chore: cooking, cleaning, laundry, treating her like a queen just to keep her happy. 2 years passed. Whenever I brought up an engagement, she grew impatient and brushed it off. I foolishly blamed myself. Until the 3rd year. One night, She walked into the apartment and coldly pulled her bag away from my hand. Benjamin, let's break up. I froze. Why? She looked at me with a passing flash of guilt. I'm sorry. I've fallen for someone else. Felt like my world shattered. I had spent years fiercely turning down advances from female colleagues out of absolute loyalty to her. Yet she tossed me away so casually. Who is he? I shouted. Her guilt instantly hardened into cold irritation. Benjamin, control your emotions. It's David, the new vice president at my dad's company. Satisfied now? I collapsed onto the sofa, completely drained. Helen sat across from me with a sweet, infatuated look that made my soul bleed. He's a handsome returnee, she murmured. Whenever I hit a wall at work, one sentence from him solves everything. With David, I finally feel like a princess who found her prince. 2 months with a flashy executive erased 6 years of my absolute devotion. Benjamin, you're a good man, she added coldly. But true love is unstoppable, isn't it? The sheer exhaustion crushed my voice. I walked into the bedroom and silently packed my bags. Helen leaned against the doorframe, watching me without a single word of protest. By midnight, I dragged my luggage out. The moment the door clicked shut, I collapsed against the floor outside, tears flowing uncontrollably for the 6 years I would never get back. The next morning, I moved back to my hometown, City H, transferring to my company's new branch. Sitting in the yard with my father, I told him everything. My father took a drag of his cigarette and sighed. Son, you and Helen were never right. In 6 years, she never once visited our home. She never firmly chose you. Do you feel like you owe her anything? No, I replied instantly. I gave everything. I owe her absolutely nothing. Then that's good, my father smiled. Walk forward. I threw myself into work, changing my phone number. But a month later, my old roommate, Mauro, called me in a total panic. Benjamin, Helen has gone completely crazy. She's hounding everyone for your address. This morning, she showed up at my place wearing a full wedding dress, begging us to take her to you so you can marry her. I remained cold. Mauro, nobody gives her my details. I am completely done. A week later, Helen tracked down my number and called me, weeping desperately. Benjamin, please don't abandon me. I'll come to City H right now. We can get married today. A cold, mocking chuckle slipped from my lips. What are you laughing at? Helen snapped, her toxic pride flaring up. I am giving you a lifetime chance, Benjamin. If you refuse me now, don't expect me to ever come crawling back. Good, I said quietly and hung up. Days later, Mauro called back with wild news. Benja, right after you left, Helen moved in with David. But guess what? David was already legally married overseas. His wife marched straight into the corporate headquarters, caught them, and publicly thrashed Helen right in her office. The video went viral online. Mauro laughed. David immediately blamed Helen, claiming she seduced him, and fled back to the States. Helen's face was bruised. Her father suspended her out of pure shame, and her goddess image is permanently shattered. That's when she realized what she threw away. I felt a profound sense of relief. I had dodged a lethal bullet. A year later, I married Francesca, the beautiful village teacher who had saved my mother's life and brought pure, effortless comfort into my world. Now, a week after seeing Helen at the registration office, she actually tracked us down, standing in our yard like a fighting rooster confronting my wife. Francesca calmly led her outside to the big stone tree at the edge of the village. I quietly followed. Helen, you threw him away. Francesca's voice rang out with absolute steel. Why are you lurking around my home? So what if I regret it? Helen screamed. I will spend the rest of my life making it up to him. You are rotten to the core. Francesca laughed coldly. You don't regret losing Benjamin. You regret losing your absolute control. You are throwing a tantrum because you realize no one else in this world will ever give you that pure, selfless love again. Helen broke down into ugly, desperate tears, unable to refute a single word. I stepped out from behind the tree, walking straight past a ruined Helen without offering a single glance. I wrapped my arm around my wife, looking toward our home. The script was rewritten, the toxic was buried, and I had finally won my true queen. To be continued.